Everyone, welcome to the May 18th, 2026 Sylvania City Council meeting. I would like to call this meeting to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Hanson.
Here.
Mr. Hanem.
Here.
Mr. McCann.
Here.
Mr. Murphy.
Here.
Mr. Richardson.
Here.
Ms. Stowe.
Here.
Mrs. Westfall.
Here.
All 7 members of Sylvania City Council are in attendance, therefore a quorum does exist. We'll move on to the Pledge of Allegiance led this evening by Mr. Hanson. If you please rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Moving on to additions to the agenda. I don't have anything to add to the agenda. Mrs. Westfall.
Nothing. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Members of council. Hearing none. Mr. Shaw.
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Chief Miller.
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Ms. Smith.
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Ms. Browning.
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Very good. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as submitted?
So moved.
Second. We have a motion and a second to approve the council agenda as submitted. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Moving on to agenda item number 4, we have the approval of the council meeting minutes for May 4th, 2026 for consideration. Mrs. Westfall.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to move approval of the Sylvania City Council meeting minutes from the meeting held May 4th, 2026 as submitted.
Second. A motion and a second to approve the meeting minutes for the council meeting of May 4th, 2026 as submitted. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Moving on to agenda item number 5. We have proposed resolution 5, 2026 for consideration. Mrs. Westfall.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to just make a few brief comments, if you
Please.
don't mind. I do believe all council members did see this information, but want to make sure that you did. Based on our last conversation, I did reach out to the initiative committee and shared with them what our action at the last meeting had been. And I did ask if they had any interest in getting together for further discussion of amendments, and they were very courteous in their reply. They got back to me by the time I asked, and they said that there was no change in the committee's position. So I just want to make sure everybody knew that we did make one more attempt to encourage discussion and possible amendments. So with that, I'm ready to introduce resolution number 5.
Please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce resolution number 5-2026, a resolution of the Council of the City of Sylvania rejecting the initiative petition presented to the City of Sylvania on April 20th, 2026. I move resolution number 5-2026 as an emergency measure.
Second. We have a motion and a second to approve
Mr.
resolution.
Mayor, before we proceed,
Mr. Hanem.
I'd like to introduce an amendment to resolution number 5-2026. Specifically, I would like in the the fourth whereas clause, to amend the whereas clause to put up in the fourth line, a period after Sylvania, and strike the remainder of that provision. And I do so on the basis that that the remainder of that sentence is factually inaccurate. And what I offer for that is the proposed ordinance clearly states that the ordinance is to be interpreted to be consistent with and to comply with all federal and state law. And specifically, I refer you to Section 5, which says, except where required by federal or state law or pursuant to a judicial warrant. In other words, and then it lists a few things that the city would not do, but the city would, if it were required by federal or state law to do that, they would do those things. Similarly, in Section 10, Section 10 begins, except where otherwise required by federal or state law, and it goes on to talk about equal access to city services. And finally, I refer you to Section 13 of the ordinance, which states that nothing in this ordinance shall be construed to A, prohibit or restrict any city officer or employee from cooperating with federal law enforcement authorities in the investigation or prosecution of criminal activity unrelated to civil immigration enforcement, including but not limited to trafficking, terrorism, or violent felonies. B, prohibit compliance with any valid judicial warrant or court order. C, conflict with any applicable federal or state statute that expressly mandates particular actions by local governments with respect to information regarding an individual's citizenship or immigration status. And then it states that this ordinance shall be interpreted and applied to the fullest extent possible, consistent with such federal or state laws. And finally, in the event that any provision of this ordinance is found to conflict with federal or state law, that provision shall be interpreted and applied in a manner that most closely effectuates the purpose of this ordinance while complying with such laws. So my amendment is designed to remove the inaccuracy in the fourth whereas clause, where it says that several provisions in the initiative language are contrary to applicable state and federal law and could expose the city of Sylvania to significant legal liability and potential litigation. That is not factually true and not consistent with the language of the proposed ordinance. And so I would move to strike that, to amend resolution number 5-2026, to strike that offensive language.
So Mr. Hannon, let me make sure that I understand exactly what your motion says. In the fourth whereas clause in the fourth line, you're indicating that that whereas clause should end after the word Sylvania, correct? And that everything following that should be stricken. Is that my understanding?
That's my motion.
Okay.
That's my motion to amend.
Okay. So we have a motion on the floor to amend the fourth whereas clause in resolution number 5, 2026 for consideration. Do I have a second? I'll ask again, do I have a second? Hearing none, the motion is denied.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Then I would like to address further resolution number 5-2026.
Briefly.
As necessary. Ordinance 37-2026 is an ordinance that does two things. First, it limits the use of city resources to assist federal immigration enforcement except to the extent required by federal or state law. Second, it assures equal access to all persons to city services, benefits, programs, and protections regardless of their immigration status. The purpose of the ordinance is clearly stated to promote public safety by fostering trust and cooperation between immigrant communities and city officials. Ensure that limited city resources are used to address local public safety and community needs rather than federal civil immigration and enforcement activities which are solely within the purview of the federal government. Third, to establish clear guidelines regarding the city's role with respect to federal immigration enforcement activities within the city of Sylvania. And fourth, to establish that access to and eligibility for city services, benefits, programs, and protections shall be afforded to all persons and shall not be conditioned upon or affected by an individual's immigration status. And that last part is important in that the ordinance goes on to state that eligibility, that nothing the city does will affect the eligibility for city services, benefits, programs, and protections based upon an individual's immigration status, and that all city departments and divisions shall, to the extent permitted by law, administer their services and programs in a manner that does not require disclosure of immigration status, and that clearly communicates that services are available regardless of immigration status. So I will be voting against resolution number 5-2026 for the first reason that it misstates in the fourth whereas clause that the proposed initiative language is contrary to applicable state and federal law and could expose the city of Sylvania to significant legal liability and potential litigation. That is a clearly false and misleading statement that is designed to protect those members that oppose this legislation. So I will vote against it for that reason, and I will also vote against it because the ordinance 37-2026, I think, serves the best interest of the city, the community, and the United States of America.
Are there any other comments? Hearing none, we have a motion and a second on resolution number 5, 2026, to pass as an emergency measure. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Hanson,
Yes.
Mr. Hanem,
No.
Mr. McCann,
Yes.
Mr. Murphy,
Yes.
Mr. Richardson,
Yes.
Ms. Stowe,
Yes.
Mrs. Westfall.
Yes.
The motion is 6-1 to adopt resolution number 5, 2026, and therefore resolution 5, 2026 passes as an emergency measure. Thank you very much. Moving on to agenda item number 6, we have water line improvement projects. Mr. Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, members of council. In front of you tonight is our third of 5 intended water line improvement contracts that were in the capital improvement budget this year. This one is much needed on Central Park, Garden Park, and Rosewood Place. That's where this location is at. We have some old 4-inch and 6-inch cast iron mains that exist on these roadways, and we'd like to have them replaced. At the 17th February meeting, we asked for our ability to start our letter of interest process to solicit for consultants. We had 6 engineering consultants interested. We scored and ranked and are selecting American Structure Point for this particular project. You guys probably are very familiar with them. They do a ton of construction administration work for us. They've been asking for quite some time to let them show us how good they are at design engineering contracts, and this is a good spot to do a test with that with them. So they've submitted a proposal in the amount of $93,738 to complete the scope of services and design the water lines on these particular roadways. This was budgeted in the 26 capital improvement budget, and the account numbers listed in your letter in the ordinance. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Mr. Shaw? Hearing none, we have ordinance 83, 2026 for consideration. Mr. Hanson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce by title only ordinance number 83-2026, accepting the proposal of American Structure Point Incorporated to provide professional engineering and surveying services for the Central Park, Garden Park, Rosewood Place Waterline Improvements Project, appropriating funds therefore in the amount of $93,738. I move for passage of ordinance number 83-2026 as an emergency measure.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance 83, 2026 as an emergency measure. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried and ordinance 83, 2026 is approved as an emergency measure. Moving on to agenda item number 7, facilities master planning study. Mr. Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And similarly, at the February 17th meeting, we also asked for requested letter of interest process to start for facilities master planning here in the city of Sylvania. So same thing that we just did with the last one. We put our letter of interest request out there, and in this particular one, we received 2 letters of interest from 2 consultants. So again, we scored and ranked both of these consultants and are recommending we move forward with the collaborative out of Toledo as the most highly qualified firm to lead us in this effort. We've finished those negotiations with the collaborative. They've given us a base fee of $211,000, which also includes 2 if authorized tasks, including $3,500 to provide structural scanning services. So in the event that any of these buildings that we're looking at are deficient in any of the architectural plans, they can put up a scan and really grab the room or in the space as quickly as they can. So that's one of the if authorized services, and then the other one is $15,000 for enhanced visual rendering. So let's say we go down the path here and we find a really good option that we want to move forward with. We may spend the additional funds to provide some renderings for what this new building or new area or new structure would look like. So those are the two if authorized amounts. So we are requesting the full amount of $229,500 to move forward. We did budget for this project in 2026 budget. Account number is listed in your letter. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Mr. Shaw?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. McCann?
Mr. Shaw, has any decision been made, set in stone, set in concrete for what we're going to be doing and where we're going with this? There's been discussion online about how we're jumping the gun and not having any interaction with anyone, making decisions without public comment. Where are we at?
Yeah, I think it's a good and fair question. If anything, this is probably as organic as you could probably drive an effort like this. There's been some ideas, obviously, with the way the scope was written on some sites that are advantageous to us, either ones that we own, that some of our friendly partners around the community own, that we've had some discussions with. But when we sat down and talked with the collaborative from the beginning, we said, look, there's no direction that we want to drive here. We have all these options on the table. Let's look at them. Let's vet them. Some may go away quickly and some we may spend quite a bit more time on. But that's the reason we're doing this. This has never been done in the city of Sylvania. We have facilities. We've never studied them. We don't know what shape some of them are. We have an idea, but this will give us a qualitative and quantitative analysis of what we have and then what those things look like and where those can go.
Thank you.
Other questions for Mr. Shaw? Mr. Murphy?
Did you mention this, Mr. Shaw, and maybe I missed it, the time frame of when they'd be done with all this?
It'll take them about 6 to 8 months to get a really good picture on that. And then if we have any of the finalized details that we want to do, it may add a month or two to that. Okay. So we should have a very good picture within 8 to 12 months.
Does the administration have any specific agenda or lead to this, or are we fact-finding and looking for options?
The specific agenda is that our facilities, as Mr. Shaw mentioned, have not been closely evaluated for many years, if ever, and giving us the opportunity not just to, although there's stuff in the scope, as you review that, to talk about potentially different locations and different circumstances, but also to look at our existing facilities, what condition they're in, what sort of equipment, if any, deferred maintenance, those kinds of things that we would need to grapple with as time rolls on. One of the things in here is this actual building, which was constructed, I think my recollection is 1963, Mr. Shaw.
Very good.
So the building has served us well for many years. Probably 6 years or so ago, we had a downtown redevelopment evaluation that we all, most of us, people that were on council at the time, went through that during COVID, and we had conversations about where are the places that we could potentially have opportunities and projects. And this particular spot was one of those places that was identified as a possibility, but we may come back and the collaborative may come back and say, no, everything's great. You need to adjust these things and turn those things. But the administration doesn't have any specific agenda in regards to that. We want to figure out what's best for the city moving forward.
Thank you.
Sure. Any other questions or comments from?
Yeah, well, I had a question for Mr. Shaw that we discussed offline earlier today about the part 2 goes through and identifies alternative sites for some of these buildings. And I specifically asked, are we unreasonably constraining our consideration of alternative sites in the city? And I will tell you that after discussing it with Mr. Shaw, I'm comfortable that these are, there's been sufficient and significant thought and pre-screening and selecting the sites that we're asking the collaborative to evaluate. And I don't believe it is necessary to have a general catch-all. But it was something that jumped out at me when I read it.
Sure.
And Mr. Shaw was gracious enough to indulge me and explain that to me, and I appreciate that.
Thank you.
And just to follow up briefly on that, Mr. Hanem, one of the things that is necessary on these things, as you rightfully point out, is if we provide a third-party entity a universal opportunity to evaluate, 3 years from now, we'll still be evaluating and we won't be any further down the pathway and have spent a lot more money than probably we necessarily needed to. So Mr. Shaw and Mr. Barnes, the deputy director, spent a reasonably significant amount of time focusing on trying to figure out where those spots are at, or where it might make sense. But that being said, somebody else may come in and say, hey, I got a great spot for you, and then we're gonna have a different conversation, potentially, if it actually looks like it makes some sense to evaluate that one as well. So
That's a great point. Actually, we had conversations on that very topic with the collaborative, and let's say one of these drops off and we don't find it to be very realistic, but like you said, something comes up. We want to make sure we're using these resources kind of wide to start with, but then very specific and focused as we go, which could add in, possibly another site, which we would come back and talk to you guys about. But it allows us a little bit of play as we get started, and then can be very focused towards the finish. So,
other questions from members of council? Hearing none, we have ordinance 84, 2026 for consideration. Ms. Stowe.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to introduce ordinance number 84-2026 and read by title only. Accepting the proposal of the collaborative to provide master planning services for several city-owned facilities, appropriating funds therefore in the amount of $229,500. I move for passage of ordinance number 84-2026 as an emergency measure.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance 84, 2026 as an emergency measure. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried, and ordinance 84, 2026 is approved as an emergency measure. Moving on to agenda item number 8, we have the right-of-way acquisition. Mr. Shaw.
thank you, Mr. Mayor. If you're keeping count of acquisition parcels on this, we are up to number 7 of 10. With this one in front of us, this is parcel 8. Mr. and Mrs. Kinney, Eric and Elena, we've worked with on right-of-way acquisition needed from them. This particular one is for a temporary construction easement, no permanent right-of-way being acquired here. That said, we actually did quite a bit of negotiating back and forth with the property owner. Not much in terms of a physical take, but a big impact to the property with some of the trees being lost that are encroachments in the right-of-way. So had a fair amount of discussion with the Kinneys on this, but grateful to bring this one in front of you. This is number 7 for us to acquire. We've reached an agreement with the Kinneys in the amount of $300 for the temporary construction easement for the Erie and Monroe roundabout. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Mr. Shaw?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Hanson.
I didn't have a question until hearing what you just said about the trees. This is a temporary,
Yes.
and the trees will come down and then,
Yeah.
I'm just curious, are
They-
they being replaced or no?
They have a substantial amount of tree frontage that kind of screens Monroe Street from their front. All of those are encroachments in the right of way, which means we can cut them down without compensation. But we have worked with them post-project to probably come up with something that softens the blow a little bit, so to speak, that our Parks and Forestry is very good at. So that was a part of a lot of the back negotiations with the Kinneys. But
Okay. Thank
you.
Other questions from Mr. Shaw? Hearing none, we have ordinance 85, 2026 for consideration. Mr. Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is ordinance number 85, 2026. I will introduce by title only. Accepting a temporary construction easement from Eric and Elena Kenny for the roundabout at the intersection of Erie Street and Monroe Street, and resurfacing work on Erie Street from Centennial Road to Monroe Street, dedicating the temporary easement for public purposes, appropriating funds therefore, and I move for passage as an emergency measure.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance 85, 2026 as an emergency measure. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried, and ordinance 85, 2026 is approved as an emergency measure. Moving on to agenda item number 9, we have a brine system for potential purchase.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Unpacking this one just a little bit, needs a little bit of discussion leading up to it. When we were here in March, we had requested the purchase of one single axle dump truck for our streets department that was budgeted. It was approved, $99,923.28. At the time, the streets department, they had two trucks budgeted in this year's capital improvement budget. But they had come to me and said, hey, our brine making system, which is really critical to our snow and ice control operations here, had some pretty major things happen to it over the winter. We were able to get through it, but some of the replacement parts and some of the apparatus that need to be replaced on it were getting quite expensive. And so they propositioned and said, what do you think if we shop for a brine making system instead of the second truck we were gonna buy this year? And I said, that's fine, we just have to balance that out. So that you guys know, the brine making system was going to be in the 27 capital improvement budget. It just happened to show its face a little earlier than we were planning to. So the idea was go ahead, shop, see what you can come up with, which they did. Oddly enough, when things like this happen, it's kind of interesting. The National Snow and Ice Control convention was in Cleveland, so just literally two hours down the road. So we took our two guys that are heavy in that operation and a third guy over just to check out the two systems that they were interested in looking at. Tested them both out, got to talk with the representatives, so it worked out really, really good. But all that work and all that homework led us to this right here. So this is a Brine Boss automated salt brine production system. It's from Kaleida Truck out of Walbridge. And the purchase price is $116,500. So of the remaining truck budget that we had, $103,076.72, we are requesting that be applied in credit towards this particular purchase. That leaves us with $13,000 over budget, what we were normally going to be with our trucks this year. So I'm requesting the additional overage come out of the snow and ice control materials account. Before presenting this to you, we checked the account balance. It sits at about $480,000. So we have a sufficient amount of funds in our snow and ice control account, our 223 account, to cover the overage. So yes, an additional appropriation to handle it, but I think it's more than a good ask to get the new system up and running for our next snow and ice control season. The next truck will be in the 27 budget. So just kind of a switcheroo on this one. So happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Mr. Shaw?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Murphy?
how long do these last for?
They're very harsh environments. The one that we just had lasted us 11 years. We do a very good job. This particular tank has some rust on it. We are going to move the existing system to gov deals. We don't think that as a system in its entirety is really probably appealing to anybody, but there's certainly a lot of parts and pieces to this that is advantageous to somebody who may want to bid on it. So we will move the existing system to gov deals.
Other questions for Mr. Shaw? Hearing none. Mr. Richardson, is it okay, since you've got another couple, you had the one before, if I move this over to see Mr. Hanem? You okay with that?
By all means.
Mr. Hanem, are you?
Sure.
This ordinance 86, 2026, please.
Mayor, I move adoption of ordinance number 86-2026 as an emergency measure. I would read by title only, authorizing the mayor and director of finance to accept the proposal of Kaleida Truck Equipment, Inc. for the provision of one Brine Boss automated salt brine production system made by Veritech Industries for the Division of Streets, Department of Public Service, and appropriating $116,500 therefore. And again, I move adoption of ordinance number 86-2026 as an emergency measure.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance 86, 2026 as an emergency measure. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried, and ordinance 86, 2026 is approved as an emergency measure. Moving on to the Downtown Transportation Improvement Project Phase 2. Mr. Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thrilled to bring you a nice bid on the last piece of our downtown improvements project. This is phase 2, the roadway construction piece of this. We solicited for bids. And we received 2 of those on May 8th for the last phase of our construction. Our engineer's estimate was $4.6 million, and the low bid was by the same group who did our phase 1 construction project, Helms and Sons, and they were about 4.5 million, so just under 2% under our engineer's estimate. The other bid that we did receive was from Dundee, Michigan, Salon Bean Trucking and Excavating. They were over 3.6% over estimate at about $4.8 million. So things work out good sometimes. I'm pleased to have Helms on if you guys decide to move forward with them. They did a great job in phase 1, challenging work downtown. We've got our same construction arrangement with our American Structure Point helping us there. We've got the same contractor who did the phase 1, so a lot of synergy and understanding how both entities work. So would highly recommend the contract be awarded to Helms and Sons in the amount of $4,526,522. This was obviously a big portion, a massive portion of our capital improvement budget for 2026. So certainly budgeted and happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Shaw, I did have one question for you. You mentioned the same firms, presuming that council moves to approve this. Are the same people going to be the ones that are spearheading the project?
That's correct. Yep, we get
The exact same people,
the exact same
we're getting the
people.
band back together, so to speak.
Yeah, we did a good job of securing everything. I will say we did budget 5.3 overall for phase 2. If you take in the construction engineering contract and the construction contract, we're already starting to the good about $450,000. So pretty good.
And I also wanted to note that OPWC grant, almost $440,000, which was obviously helpful towards the cost of the project. Questions from members of council? Mr. Murphy.
On the phase 1, do you recall, Mr. Shaw of Helms and Sons, how much they came back after the fact with adjustments?
So we haven't done the final change order on the project. We have a couple of items that we're still working through. I haven't officially gotten the number from Eric yet on what it's gonna look like, but it is going to be under the original contract amount. And it seems to be by a pretty substantial margin too.
So the fact that they're 2% under now, they might, that's realistic, it'll be, all things considered.
I will never say that with construction, but I hope I have your optimism maybe. You know?
I guess my point is, they've proven that they didn't necessarily underbid and then come back after the fact necessarily.
It's a great point. You know, I always point out what happened with some of our counterparts down the road on 475, and you know, they had millions of dollars in change orders for their downtown. We're going to come in under what we originally bid. I think that's a testament to Eric and how he manages projects. It's a testament to Helms and how they look for things in advance, and as well as American Structure Point on their administration of that, how to work through issues and problems and changes. So it's a great team. We're very fortunate. You know, these things can easily go the other way if you have a contractor who's not willing to work with you, but this whole group has, and we're fortunate.
Thank you.
Questions or comments from Mr. Shaw? I just want to say thanks to you, Mr. Shaw, and to Mr. Barnes for working on this. We've been working on this for a long time. Council has been working on this and talking about this for 10 years, give or take. So lots of conversation, lots of effort, and it's nice to move this, look at moving this to the next phase. So I appreciate that.
Appreciate that. Thank
So
you.
we have ordinance 87, 2026. Mr. Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is ordinance number 87, 2026. I will read by title only. Accepting the bid of Helms and Sons Excavating and awarding the contract for the Downtown Transportation Improvements Project Phase 2 to same. Authorizing the expenditure for the improvements in the amount of $4,526,522. Appropriating funds therefore, and I make a motion for passage as an emergency measure.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance 87, 2026 as an emergency measure. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried, and ordinance 87, 2026 is approved as an emergency measure. Now, to all those of you, many of you are students, it looks like, in the audience. We just spent $4.5 million, but we didn't just come up with it tonight. That's something that has been under conversation for many years with the Downtown Transportation Improvement District. And I wanted to make sure that you understood that it was considered seriously and evaluated as an ongoing project. It was developed and evaluated in the budget process. So there was multiple opportunities for council to evaluate it, for the administrative staff to see it. And then we also obviously had multiple opportunities for community input. So that's the first piece I wanted to mention. The second piece is you heard things being passed as an emergency measure. That's traditionally the typical pattern that we have in the city of Sylvania. When the charter was written many years ago for the city, there wasn't access to the technology and the availability of information the way there is now. And because of that, those things would require 3 readings. The vast majority of things that we do in the city of Sylvania don't go to 3 readings, and with the exception of the budget, most everything passes in an emergency measure. So just to give you some explanation as you're looking at saying, man, these guys are moving fast to spend $4.5 million. That's a lot of money. So that's the reason. This is just the last step in a very significant process. So with that, moving on to agenda item number 11, Mr. Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Our interchange project, this one requires a little bit of unpacking as well. We've been monitoring construction, obviously, for over a year now and attending all the progress meetings. And this was something that had happened in the original design contract with ODOT and Arcadis. They had scoped them to do specific amount of lighting for the project, but not comprehensive and exhaustive to the needs of the project. And so when I say that, the design had interchange lighting. So down on US 23 at the ramps, our bridge deck is lit. That was included. So basically ramps and bridge deck. What was failed to be scoped was Surface Street, which is obviously very important to the city of Sylvania, right? So a big thing to make sure that we want to get captured in this. So the bridge deck would be lit. Our 2 traffic signals have lights that go with them on 2 of the quadrants of the intersection. But anything in between that didn't have lighting, especially on the south side of the road. Some of the transmission poles that were relocated as a part of the effort actually had lights that were put on them, but they sit far back. So what this needs to happen with this contract is look at the dark spots. Where do we have them? Where do we need to supplement and add a light pole, a fixture? And the advantageous part of it is now, as while construction is going on, it's possible we can get some of the conduit in the ground. We could get some of the foundations in the ground. We may have to wait a little bit on the poles, but at least we will know exactly, okay, it's going to be dark here, add a pole, that type of thing. So Tetra Tech was actually the sub-consultant for Arcadis with ODOT's contract. So we reached out to them quickly. And so we're looking to do kind of a fill in the gap analysis for lighting. That's kind of step 1. And then step 2 is to say, okay, here's the conduit, here are the pole boxes, here are the sizes. Get that to ODOT for some pricing and see if it makes sense that we can get it in with that contract. If it can't and it doesn't work out, we'll look at that step down the road. But the goal is hopefully to get that in the contract that ODOT currently has right now. So that's the unpack of that. Tetra Tech gave us a proposal. It's cost plus fixed fee, so $20,000, meaning I only want to use what I need to get this effort accomplished. So hopefully it does not cost us that, but it does kind of cover some of their basis in the event that it does take all of that to do it. So we did carry forward $490,000 into the capital improvement budget just for the what if happens on interchange projects like this. So I think this is an appropriate ask to use 20,000 of those kind of contingency funds, so to speak. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Shaw, one question I have for you is, do you anticipate the study being on both sides, both on the east side and the west side?
Yes, for sure.
That's going to be part of it. Okay.
Absolutely. I think the darkest spots are probably on the east side just because of how much the roadway has moved and changed. So yeah, absolutely, it'll look at both sides.
Okay. Ms. Dow, did I hear you?
Yes.
Please.
Mr. Shaw, just curious, based on how much city roadway there is there any idea of how much the actual construction might be? I know we don't have a design yet, but if we're doing 20 grand to make construction documents, that mean there's gonna be a construction cost later on. I'm curious if you have a general, are we talking about like 50,000 or 200,000?
I think you're in the middle. I think you're kind of in that range, somewhere between probably 50 and 100, if I had to say. That's probably where it'll land.
Just preparing myself.
Unfortunate, but it happens. I mean, it's unfortunate that it was a contract out of our control that they were scoping. But you know, it happens that sometimes consultants get misscoped, and that happened here.
It's better you caught it now than when it's done.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure.
Because it costs a lot more later than now, when the ground's already available and traffic's already shut down and opportunity to address these now. But other questions from Mr. Shaw in regards to this?
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. McCann?
Mr. Shaw, and a follow-up question to that is timing. Will this affect any of the construction schedule for bridge?
A great question. No, it does not. So we're in the window starting June 1st through when the bridge opens, August 7th. So I anticipate their analysis will take a couple weeks to do. We should have a nice picture by June 1st. And then we can do some shopping on cost at that time and decide whether we've got the ability to do it. So the reason I say that window, to give you just kind of a construction update in general, the east side of the interchange, that new intersection with Monroe, the northbound off-ramp and Alexis Road, that will open June 1st. So that new intersection will all have traffic signal, it'll be lit. You just won't be able to use the west approach to that to go over the bridge. So as soon as you open that, it becomes really constrictive from a maintenance of traffic perspective to get, you know, conduit and contractors in there under live traffic. We can do it. It just becomes a little more challenging. And then once it's fully opened and the bridge is open, it gets really challenging fast with that many cars moving through the area. So we've got kind of a narrow window to try to get this figured out and do. But hopefully that answers your timing question.
That and a general update, how are we doing?
Good. Bridge beams were dropped down onto the piers and the abutment walls. Deck pour is actually coincidentally June 1st as well. So there'll be a ton of ants and everybody on the bridge deck, and probably during a nighttime hour when it's nice and cool to pour a brand new bridge deck on it. East, like I just mentioned, east side of that intersection will open June 1st. The biggest thing you guys will see May 29th, right after the Memorial Day holiday. Probably the hardest part of this phase is the closing of ramps, and our first big one happens on the northbound off ramp. So as you go northbound on 23 and you get off to hang out on the east side of town, that ramp closes for 14 days. So, and the reason for that is to do tie-in work. So you've got the old ramp and the new ramp. All that needs to be massaged through, and they've got 14 days to get that done. So once that 14 days is over with on June 13th, everybody's on the new ramp, and then you get up to the new intersection and you go. So that's a big thing coming up just to be aware of. But overall, yeah, we're hitting our marks. Bridge work has gone well. Utility work has been utility work. It's challenging at times for water and drainage, but no indications have been given to me so far that we're going to miss our target. I get asked about weather days. They've had 2. So if you can imagine the wettest month, the meteorologists tell us we've had in March, April, and May so far. We've only had 2 weather days, which has been great. So they're doing a great job. They're doing a really good job. I think we'll be on schedule. I don't know that we'll be early, but I think we'll be on schedule.
Thank you for the update.
So Mr. Shaw, in connection with the closure of the ramp, is ODOT, I mean, I know they've got the website and all of that stuff. Is ODOT sending information to our community members who are close by to that particular vicinity that this is going to happen?
No, they don't. They don't get that granular with it. They do their press releases. They do their portable changeable message signs that you see. We at the local level usually reach out to, like Dave White, for example, is somebody that we would reach out to so that they know fully.
But I'm thinking about the homeowners up off of Acres and some of those other people that we probably need to get a quick letter drafted and let them know that this is coming.
Sure.
Even though I'm sure that they've seen the signs and all the flashing, still, I would rather err on the side of caution in regards to this. So. Other questions or comments from Mr. Shaw? Hearing none, we have ordinance 88, 2026 for consideration. Mr. Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is ordinance number 88, 2026. I will read by title only. Accepting the proposal of Tetra Tech for supplemental professional lighting design services relative to the US 23 Monroe Street interchange project, including surface streets, appropriating funds therefore in the amount of $20,000. I move for passage as an emergency measure.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance 88, 2026 as an emergency measure. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried and ordinance 88, 2026 is approved as an emergency measure. Moving on to agenda item number 12, we have green yard waste drop-off, potential modification. Mr. Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have an original agreement plus two contract modifications and extensions that have been approved by City Council with Sylvania Compost, commonly known as A&J Landscaping. They've been taking our material since 2023 when our site north of the Ohio-Michigan line was closed with Toledo Memorial Park's property. So we've had all of that work on for a couple years. This has been a really good relationship. Adam Duncan runs a nice program over there. He's been very good to us for dropping material off. Been a nice relationship to say the least. So we are interested to do a contract amendment and an extension, which this one would be number 3. They've been very good on their pricing. The first year of the contract, if you recall, we were at $50,000 to take our green yard waste material for the full year to their site. We did increases to $51,000 and about $52,000 in agreement number 1. And then we actually had that shredder from our compost site that we worked into getting us kind of a swap deal where the shredder was $50,000, their service was $50,000, and we had a year that we didn't pay just because they took our shredder from us. So we're at $53,000 for the first year if this contract were approved, and then they're asking for $1,000 increases for the next years after that. So $54,000 and then $55,000 to provide those services. So would recommend the extension and modification. There's very few changes in the agreement itself. It's was included in your packet. Other than really kind of drilling down invoicing dates, we kind of were wiggling a little bit with not being consistent on when invoices were coming and going. So we really strengthened the language in the contract on when the city's going to expect those invoices. We also asked for wholesale pricing for our Parks and Forestry group. We take material there. We should be able to get a better price from that. He recognized that. So he had no problem giving us wholesale pricings, which he will adjust on an annual basis, but we get basically a sheet for topsoil and mulch and other things like that that are at wholesale pricing rather than retail. So would recommend approval of modification and extension number 3. Happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Mr. Shaw? Hearing none, we have ordinance 89, 2026 for consideration. Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce ordinance number 89-2026 by title only. Authorize the mayor and director of finance to enter into a third amendment to the city's agreement with Sylvania Compost and Recycling LLC to provide green yard waste drop-off from October 1st, 2026 through September 30th, 2029. I move for passage of ordinance number 89, 2026 as an emergency measure.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance 89, 2026 as an emergency measure. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried and ordinance 89, 2026 is approved as an emergency measure. Moving on to agenda item number 13, potential water line improvements. Mr. Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is contract number 4-5 that we had planned for in the 2026 capital improvement budget related to water line improvements. This particular request is to begin our letter of interest solicitation for Highland View Drive, which is just east of the Erie and Monroe intersection, San Benito Drive, which is just north of the Erie and Monroe intersection, and then San Reno Drive, which is kind of at the Erie and Monroe intersection and goes up to Orvieto. Some very old 4-inch in here. I remember when I first came here in 2013, we abandoned a good chunk of this behind San Reno to make a really bad situation go away. It was in rear yards and we didn't have access to it, but we did a little small chunk of this when I first got here in 23, but we're ready to do the rest of it over here. Small diameter water lines, 4-inch for most of Highland View actually. Most of it is 4-inch in San Benito as well. So this will be a great project to get rid of very small diameter water mains in our system as we continue to chip away at those. So we would request to begin the authorization to request letters of interest. Happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Mr. Shaw?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Hanson?
so Mr. Shaw, I think it was late last year, if I remember right, we spent a lot of time talking about GIS services and technology and things like that. And I just don't recall, will that also help with water lines, being that they're underground, or will we not have access to that with our GIS?
No, we absolutely do. Yeah, it's amazing and you guys are busy, but I could show you all day what our GIS capabilities can do, but to give you all intents and purposes, you have a map in front of you. You can click on any water main in the city and it'll pop up its diameter, age, what material it was, and then that'll hyperlink to the plans that actually when it was installed. So tremendous resource that we use on a daily basis is our GIS program, but all of this is captured in that.
Okay, great.
You said the magic words, Mr. Hanson. When you talk about GIS to Mr. Shaw, he gets excited. He gets
See
cranked up
everybody's
about
eyes go down.
it. Other questions for Mr. Shaw? Hearing none, we've a potential LOI solicitation for consideration. Mr. Hanson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to make a motion to allow administration to request letters of interest for design engineering services for the Highland View Drive, San Benito Drive, San Reno Drive Waterline Improvement Project.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to authorize the administration to issue letters of interest for design engineering services to the Highland View, San Benito, San Reno Drive Waterline Improvement Project. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Moving on to agenda item number 14, Mr. Shaw.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. We are ready to solicit for bids for our refuse and recycling solid waste contract currently provided by Republic Services. That was approved last year, August 15th, 2016. The ordinance number is listed there, and that was for a 5-year contract with what then they called Allied Waste Services of North America, doing business as Republic Services of Toledo. So they were the only bidding contractor. Just to remind you, in 2016, they have been providing services for our Sylvania community since 2006. So they've been a staple here for about 20 years, collecting our solid waste. This council did extend. It was the way that the contract was written. It allowed for one extension for a 5-year period. So we did that July 19th, 2021. And at that time, if you recall, we made some pretty wholesale changes to the solid waste collection program. We went to an automated system. We went to toters. It was a pretty substantial change. It took us a good month to or I would say a good year to work through the waves and everything that goes with changing a system like that. But did very good. And we've been really pretty steady with our collection services. Had a hiccup last year with their labor contract that they had, but locally here in Sylvania, mostly recycling was the issue. A lot of refuse got collected. There were some issues, but for the most part, for 6,028 accounts that we had, they did pretty good. So, but anyways, the contract says we have to rebid, which is the request here. And so we would be looking for authorization for the request to advertise for bids. Be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Mr. Shaw?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Murphy?
should we get multiple people bidding on this, and should it be awarded to a different company? Do those toters belong to Republic or they belong to the city?
They belong to Republic, so that is a time crunch that always is not fun for any service director, is the change of toters when a change in recycling and refuse collection happens. So if that's the case, that's okay. We will deal with it. It'll be tight, but it'll be doable. But yes, there is a toter change out that goes with that.
Other questions for Mr. Shaw? Hearing none, we have the request to advertise for bids on the refuse and recycling contract. Mr. McCann?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to refer permission to advertise refuse and recycling contract by administration for fiscal year 2026-2027.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to authorize the administration to advertise for bids on a refuse and recycling contract. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Moving on to agenda item number 15, we have the then and now certifications. I'll handle this one since we don't have a director of finance. There was two items there that I wanted to point out in regards to the spreadsheet on the amounts owed. And you'll all recall that we have to do this basically on a monthly basis going forward according to the state auditor. The one was the Lucas County Treasurer O&M service charges. That was for the wastewater reclamation facility. It's in the budget. It's part of the sewer charges that we get from that particular facility, and that's a quarterly charge, correct, Mr. Shaw?
Correct.
The other one was the Northwest Ohio Advanced Energy Improvement District. That's a pass-through cost, so that's something that basically goes through our books because that's the way the law requires it to work, but there's no actual net out-of-pocket cost attached to that particular event. So I wanted to mention those two with you and be happy to have administration address any other items that you may have questions about. Hearing none, we have ordinance 90, 2026 for consideration. Mrs. Westfall.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for those explanations as well. I had circled both of those items, so that was helpful. I'd like to introduce ordinance number 90-2026, and I'll introduce by title only. An ordinance to authorize and ratify the execution of then and now certificates by the finance director and the payment of amounts due for various purchase orders. I move passage of ordinance number 90-2026 as an emergency measure.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve ordinance number 90, 2026 as an emergency measure. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried and ordinance 90, 2026 is approved as an emergency measure. Moving on to agenda item number 16. Chief.
Evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Back in 2021, I was a captain and I was put in charge of our special response team that we run jointly with Sylvania Township Police. It came to my attention that we were working with Sylvania Township Fire Department members that were on the team and acting as tactical medics for us. They train with us, they deploy with us. Prior to, and I'm guessing it's around 2017, because I realized we had no paperwork of any agreement working with them, what their jobs were, who was responsible for paying for their equipment.
That was all verbal.
What's that?
That was all verbal.
So yes, it was a verbal handshake taken between some chiefs
It
that
worked very well.
were no longer here. So I did reach out to some police departments and fire stations throughout the state, and I found one down by Columbus that was in a similar situation to us. And they actually did have an agreement in writing. So in 2021, I started talking with then Fire Chief Mike Graham and Fire Chief Paul Long, or Police Chief Paul Long at the Township Police, trying to get everyone on the same page and get something written. And here we are in 2026, and I finally have a workable document to present to you that has been approved through the township as well as our city legal department. So
We appreciate your diligence, Chief. Thank you very much.
it only took me 5 years, but
Well, that's
Better late than never.
exactly. Thank you.
We get along so well with the council.
Absolutely.
Always.
Absolutely. Any questions for Chief Miller? Hearing none, we have ordinance 91, 2026 for consideration. Mrs. Westphal.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce ordinance number 91-2026. I'll read by title only, authorizing the mayor and director of finance to enter into a mutual aid memorandum of understanding on behalf of this city of Sylvania with the Sylvania Township Board of Trustees for the Tactical Emergency Medical Services Team in conjunction with the Sylvania Metro Special Response Team. I move passage of ordinance number 91-2026 as an emergency measure.
Second. We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance 91, 2026 as an emergency measure. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried and ordinance 91, 2026 is approved as an emergency measure. Moving on to agenda item number 17, are there any committee reports to come before council this evening? Hearing none, committee referral, one of the things we added to the, on the agenda is the potential scheduling of an annexation and zoning committee meeting. Mr. Hanem.
Okay, I know Leslie circulated the legislation or the proposed ordinance, which I have diligently managed to ignore. But we did want to schedule an annexation zoning committee meeting to consider that. I don't know how much time we want on this. Do we want to do it separate from the June 1st council meeting?
How much time do you think this would take, Mr. Hanem? Do you have any sense of that from your perspective? I can't speak, obviously, but
Well, I don't want,
you don't want to
honestly, I
rush.
want people to look at it and then see if they really want to go forward with it. And maybe if they want to go forward with it, we could reschedule another meeting. There's obviously no time crunch on this. So we could probably, Leslie, do you have a different feeling about that?
No, I think, just speaking from my own experience, sometimes having a deadline makes me look at it.
Oh.
I mean.
You will have a deadline if we have the meeting.
Right.
Correct, that's what I'm saying.
So that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
We could, even if we just scheduled a half hour for that,
I think that would
and
be
then if we
great.
wanted to
At
move
least start the
forward,
discussion.
we could schedule a second meeting and invite
Yeah.
Michelle to talk.
Yep, I think that works. I think that's a good
So
plan.
why don't we do on June 1 at 6?
Perfect.
How's that sound?
That sounds great.
So, Mr. Hanem, is that a motion to schedule?
Yeah, I moved to schedule a zoning and annexation. I'm sorry. I moved to schedule an annexation and zoning committee meeting for June 1 at 6 o'clock to consider a new downtown specific zoning measure.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to schedule a zoning and annexation committee meeting on June 1st at 6 PM here in council chambers. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. And that item will be published and posted.
I will point out that it's riveting reading. And we want to set aside some time when you're not tired.
Make sure you're.
All zoning matters are riveting reading. No doubt. So, no disrespect to all those people that love zoning matters, but maybe watching in the audience here or online.
I've read it 4 times.
Get a life. Sorry, did I say that? Sorry, I apologize for the flippant comment. Before we consider going into committee of the whole executive session, I did want to point out Board of Architectural Review in Municipal Planning Commission meeting minutes that are here as information items A and B. If you have comments or questions about that, obviously, please let me know. There's not a lot specific about that. There was not a lot going on there in those two particular meetings this month. So with that, I would entertain a motion to move into committee of the whole executive session for the purpose of talking about personnel matters or litigation matters.
So moved.
Second. We have a motion and a second to enter into committee of the whole executive session for the purpose of potential litigation or and personnel matters. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Hanson,
Yes.
Mr. Hanem,
Yes.
Mr. McCann,
Yes.
Mr. Murphy,
Yes.
Mr. Richardson,
Yes.
Ms. Stowe,
Yes.
Mrs. Westfall.
Yes.
Motion to enter into committee of the whole executive session carries. Before we go into that, there is a possibility, depending on the outcome of the executive session, although no decisions will be made in executive session, there may be an item that comes before Do I have a motion to return from committee of the whole executive session to general session?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to exit executive session, committee of the whole executive session, and return to the general session. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Hanson,
Yes.
Mr. Hanem,
Yes.
Mr. McCann,
Yes.
Mr. Murphy,
Yes.
Mr. Richardson,
Yes.
Ms. Stout,
Yes.
Mrs. Westfall.
Yes.
The motion is 7-0 to exit committee of the whole executive session. Conversations, executive sessions were regarding personnel matters and litigation matters. No decisions were made in executive session. Thus, we return from committee of the whole executive session to general session. And now we have in conversation, a letter has been issued to members of city council for the appointment of Paul Nunchester as the new director of finance and treasurer for the city of Sylvania, and starting date on or before June 15th, 2026. And I would request that the council confirm my appointment.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to confirm Paul Nunchester as the director of finance and treasurer for the city of Sylvania. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Moving on, in one matter in regards to that appointment, we have ordinance number 92, 2026 for consideration. Mrs. Westfall.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce ordinance number 92-2026. I'll read by title only. Amending section 139.03E3 of the codified ordinances of Sylvania 1979 as amended by increasing the salary of the treasurer from $5,000 annually to $10,000 annually. I move final passage of ordinance number 92-2026 as an emergency measure.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance 92, 2026 as an emergency measure. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. And that comes to the end of our agenda this evening. Are there any other items to come before the council? Hearing none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried, and we are adjourned until our next regularly scheduled meeting for Monday, June the 1st, here in council chambers at 6:30 with a annexation and zoning committee meeting to start at 6 prior to that. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a good evening.